All right, you too. This is Detroit's HPTV coming to you out of Detroit with another update on New York, Trump, and the politics that's playing. This is breaking news, the things I'm finna show you now, so I'm not gonna take long with no introduction because I know y'all want to get straight to it. But I'm gonna name this video Why New York Officials and Policymakers Are Fighting Trump, the Migrants Are Taking Over the City. So this video is going to be for fair use into the 1976 Copyright Act for commentary educational purposes. We're going to get straight to this video. Watch.
You look at New York City, what's going on where they attack police, they want to fight police. Bureaucrats and the so-called diplomats who only know how to get us into conflict, but they don't know how to get us out.
One thing Governor Abbott and Mayor Adams agree on is that the border problem is a Biden problem.
There's only one reason why this is happening, and that's because Joe Biden has eliminated all of the four policies that Donald Trump put in place that led to the lowest illegal border crossings in 40 years.
This is a national problem. It's unfair for local municipalities and cities to handle this problem.
But the president says the border is secure. Is it?
Well, I don't know the definition of what they're using as secure.
Would you say it was secure?
I think too many people are coming through barriers, pathways, and cavities in our border. And we have to be extremely careful because not everyone that's coming is pursuing the American dream. We need to be conscious of that.
As a new business owner, the very first thing you need is a business bank account. QuickBooks Money has the best one out there.
There's crime, there's violent crime, there's migrant crime. We have a new category of crime. It's called migrant crime, and it's going to be worse than any other form of crime. You look at New York City, what's going on where they attack police. They want to fight police officers. Our criminals don't even do that so much, okay? I've never seen them having fistfights with the police officers in the middle of the street, and we have to do something about it.
What do you make of that, Griff? A new category of crime.
So it's very fascinating, and I'm not going to divulge a private conversation with my CBP sources, but that moment actually, Stu, and you didn't know this, that moment really stood out to me last night.
We have a lot of laws and regulations. One of them is we're a sanctuary city. So that basically says the city cannot share any kind of information on migrants with federal authorities.
You mentioned the right to shelter. I think about the Roosevelt Hotel. It's nearby. We have all had a front row seat to what goes on in Times Square in the proximity of that hotel. And you asked him about that. So let's listen.
The Roosevelt is just a few blocks from the Port Authority bus terminal. Every day, new migrants arrive in Midtown Manhattan by the busload. They all claim asylum, and they all come through this processing center. Further downtown, the mayor is running out of options. I did get a chance before I sat down with you to go to Roosevelt Hotel, and boy, oh boy, was that an eye-opener. Can you ever see yourself shutting down Roosevelt Hotel and saying, we can't process anymore?
Not in the near future. As long as the laws stay the way they are, where people are allowed to come to the city, and there's nothing I can do, I must have an intake center.
They have to focus on violent crime that's taking place outside. I look outside, I look at the streets, it's so different from when I left New York. It's so different. It's dirty and it's crime-ridden. And today you walk down the street, you get mugged or you get shot. You have a new form of crime now. You have migrant crime. Migrants are trying to beat up our police officers. They're trying to do things that we've never seen before, actually. We are going to have a problem with, I call it Biden migrant crime, because you have millions of people came into this place, this country that has been so badly hurt, and they're doing things that nobody's ever seen before. So you have violent migrant crime, and they're after me for doing nothing wrong.
Still, it points to a bigger issue that we've got here, which is a migrant crisis that isn't going away. And we seem a little stuck in Congress with respect to finding some sort of resolution. We've still got another year under Joe Biden. It feels like the country can't afford to wait to make a change.
Well, look, it's good to be with you. I think what you're seeing in New York is emblematic of what you're seeing all across the country. Every city in our country is overrun by this illegal immigrant crisis caused by Joe Biden. We now have 7.3 million encounters at the southern border. We're on track to have 10 million encounters during one presidential administration. This has never happened in American history, not even close. It's a catastrophe, and I don't care what your politics are. It is a man-made political disaster brought to us by Joe Biden and the Democrat Party. So in New York, they can now say that they're going to now reverse course and not give social services to illegal immigrants. But the reality is that the Democrat Party realizes how terrible of a policy this has become, and they're trying to place blame and change the subject. In the House and in Congress overall, look, there is no solution because the Democrats do not want to change. They've wanted this policy for 30 years. Now they got this policy. And so my position and a growing number of Republicans, our position is simply there will be no money until you secure the border. You secure the border, then we'll talk about funding the government and other issues.
Well, this is it. The sanctuary trap, right? We have these migrants who are coming here. We're forced to find them shelter, and yet we've run out of shelter. We have migrants in over 200 shelters. Some of them we've had to erect big tents in Randall's Island, right? Floyd Bennett Field, which has been a disaster. They've actually had to move.
I wonder what's going to happen when they run out of food. They said they're running out of space. Now they got the situation with the truckers. What's going to happen in New York when they run out of food? If they're already running out of space? What type of city officials would not see chaos coming, and at the same time all this chaos is coming, they worrying about political opposition as they focus of attack?
The migrants when the weather got really bad there, and they moved them to a school, and basically displacing students for a day.
Right.
When do we get to the point where the mayor then says we can no longer be sanctuary city?
Yes.
Well, he is trying to fight this in court right now, at least the right to shelter. It's kind of like stuck there. You don't hear anything on any kind of legal movement there. So right now his hands are tied. I don't know what he's going to do. He says at some point, expect to see the migrants on the street. I mean, I think we've all seen some of them, you know,
I live next to them.
Oh my goodness.
Right.
Yeah.
And now with the mopeds and everything else, there's this underground economy as they try to stay alive.
Would he ever talk to Abbott? Has he talked to Abbott?
I asked him that. He
Why
said
not?
that he would be open to doing
He
that.
did.
I don't know who has to make the first move, but he said he would be open to doing that. I mean, Governor Abbott, it seems like he did.
Governor
this.
Abbott, make the first.
Yeah.
Call him up. He says he wants to meet.
Absolutely. I mean, Governor Abbott, I think he had no choice but to get national attention by sharing the migrants.
Well, they were so
coming
overwhelmed, right? I mean, it just was crazy in Texas. Let me just ask you about Adams for a second in this court aspect, because I think it's really interesting. I mean, we see what Donald Trump is going through in court in New York. So the chances of him winning to try to get right to shelter revoked don't seem high to me at first glance.
You have a point. Listen, there's a lot of infighting in New York City right now. As I mentioned, the mayor and the city council, lots of progressives on the bench. You've seen some of the migrants, they've been in trouble with the law, fighting with police. They've gone in front of judges, they've released them, only to be rearrested again for another crime. So this is what we're dealing with in New York City.
And all of that infighting hurts us, the taxpayers, who have to deal with it because they can't get their act together in City Hall.
And the mayor has threatened basically cutting services that are integral to our city.
Let's talk about the border, Congressman. What are these military-aged Chinese men doing sneaking up through our southern border?
They got no business in our country, except if you really want to take a step back and think from a diabolical perspective that yes, the Chinese government is moving people into our country. Yes, people in the Middle East are moving military age men into our country, but they have no place here. There's no persecution that's going on that they can document. That's why asylum is supposed to happen outside of our country before you come in, unless it's something that is clear and present that everybody in the world can see. And then, of course, we make special exemptions when those things occur. But like I said at the top, the Democrat Party overall, they have wanted this policy. They have been lying to the American people for years, gaslighting the American people about southern border security and immigration overall. And now that it's a problem for all of our citizens, now you see the polling shift dramatically away from Joe Biden and the Democrats into support of Donald Trump and the Republican position, which is secure the border first, then take care of everything else after that.
Former President Donald Trump has vowed to crack down on immigration again if he's elected to a second term in office.
All the time, I'll solve the border problems within 24 hours of taking office.
Some of the policies he wants to implement may sound familiar, but others would be unprecedented. Trump has said he would bring back his Remain in Mexico program, which forced non-Mexican asylum seekers to wait in Mexico for the resolution of their cases. The program was terminated by President Joe Biden, who promised more humane and orderly immigration policies. Trump has also said he will seek to detain all migrants caught crossing the U.S.-Mexico border illegally, ending what he calls catch and release. And he has pledged to close gaps in the border wall, a core promise from his 2016 campaign if he returns to the White House.
I will immediately reinstate and expand the wildly successful Trump travel ban on entry from terror-plagued countries, territories, and places.
In an October speech, Trump pledged to restrict U.S. entry to people from the Gaza Strip, Libya, Somalia, Syria, Yemen, and, quote, anywhere else that threatens our security. Trump also said he would bar the entry of immigrants who support Hamas and send deportation officers to pro-Hamas protests.
If you support Hamas or any ideology that's having to do with that, or any of the other really sick thoughts that go through people's minds, very dangerous thoughts, you're disqualified.
Trump also plans to launch the largest deportation effort in U.S. history. According to a report from the New York Times, Trump aims to deport millions of illegal immigrants with large-scale roundups and by creating camps to hold them while they await removal. He's also vowed to take aggressive new steps with the help of the National Guard to deport immigrants with criminal records and suspected gang members.
Well, there you have it. Your update on New York's battle with Trump as migrants overrun the country. Like, share, and subscribe. Share the video because, these topics not popular, so you have to have sharing or, the likes to support the channel because this is controversial. They don't want you talking like this and showing this type of information. You know what I mean? So keep your head on a swivel. This is Detroit's HPTV, signing to you out of Detroit.